Hi, welcome back. In today's video, we're going to start building a menu. Now, menus are really useful. We can have a menu for a whole variety of things. We're going to use this menu as like a shop where our players can open the menu and then use the currency that they collect to upgrade their abilities. Like we can make it so the players can do more attack damage or have higher maximum life. Now to do this, we're going to make a new layer. So down here in the bottom right, I'm going to add a layer at the top. And I'm going to call this layer menu. Now there's a couple things I want to set up for the menu layer. For one, this should be a global layer. So when you have menu selected on the bottom right, over here on the top left, you'll see global. We want to change this from no to yes. What that means is that this layer, whatever we put in the menu layer in layout 1, will be in layout 2, layout 3, and all the future levels we make. The other thing I want to do is I want to change the parallax. Parallax represents how much the stuff on the screen moves as the camera moves. So if it's 100 by 100, it moves with everything else. We want the stuff on the menu to always be in the same position on the screen, no matter where the player's moved or no matter where the camera is. So I'm going to change this from 100 by 100 to 0 by 0. We did the same thing for the HUD layer too, to make it stay in the same position. Cool. Now what we can do is start building out our menu. The first thing I'm going to do is put a background on the menu layer. I'm going to right click, making sure I'm in my menu layer. I'm going to right click anywhere in here, insert new object, sprite. I'm going to call this menu background. You can call it anything you want. And let's just fill it with a color. Black is pretty typical. If you want, you can have the background a different color though. This is going to be the background color when our player opens up the menu. So we're going to stretch it out and cover up our whole layout. Now, we can make this transparent. Right now, it's completely solid. But if I look over here on the left side where it says opacity, 100%, if I lower that number, it makes it more see-through, which I think looks pretty good. So like, for example, if I make it 65, it blacks out the game, but you can still see what's happening underneath. So for this menu, I recommend making the background a little bit transparent by lowering the opacity. Okay, now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make it so that when our player presses a button on the keyboard, it'll make this menu layer pop up. Now, the first thing I want to do is I'm going to add a global variable for this. I'm going to right click at the bottom, add a global variable, and we can call this menu. I'm going to call it menu open. And it's going to be a Boolean. So when it's true, that means the menu's open. When it's false, that means the menu's not open. Let's click OK. Now down here at the bottom, let's add an event. We're going to go to the keyboard and we're going to pick a key that the player will press to open up this menu. So let's go to on key pressed and let's click to choose whatever key we want to have our player use to open up the shop menu. You could do I, you could do escape if you want. If you want to do escape, which is kind of a typical menu button, you can't just hit the escape key because it'll close that window. So you have to select it down here if you want to. I'm going to use I. And then click done. Now, when the player presses that button, we want it to both open the shop if the shop is closed, and then we want it to close it if the shop is open. To do that, we're going to add an action. We're going to go to the system, and we're going to go to toggle Boolean. What toggle means is it just reverses the state of whatever that Boolean is. So for example, if our menu open is true, it'll make it false. And if menu open is false, it'll make it true. It's like a light switch, just toggling it on and off. So toggle Boolean, menu open. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add an event, and we're going to tell Construct what happens when menu open is true. So let's go to system. Let's go to is Boolean set. And the Boolean we're going to check is menu open. So when the system is menu open, what we can do is we can add an action, go to the system, under the layer section, you'll see an option for set layer visible. If you double click on that, we can set the menu layer to be visible. Now to make the layer menu, you have to start by typing in a quotation mark, and you'll get a list of all your different layer names in here. Find menu, you'll need the quotation marks there, visibility, visible. Now we can set the opposite to be true as well. So let's add another event, go to system, go to is Boolean set, menu open, but this time we're going to invert it. If you remember, right-clicking on any condition and then selecting invert makes it opposite. So now this condition is when menu open is false, when the menu is not open. We can add an action, go to System, go down to the Layer section, and we'll set the layer for menu to invisible. Now let's try it out. If you press the key you selected, your menu background should pop up, and if you press it again, it should disappear. This is the first step for our menu. Now, right now, you can still move and play the game while this menu is open, so we need to fix that. Let's start by making the game pause whenever the menu is open. What we're going to do is we're going to add an action to this event. When the menu is open, we're going to go to the System, and if you go down to the bottom, there's a whole section for time. And under time, you'll see the option for Set Time Scale. Now for this, 1 is just normal time, 2 would be double speed, and a 0 would be frozen, like a pause. So we're going to change this to 0. Now whenever the menu is open, time freezes. Now we want to make sure that time unfreezes when the menu is not open. So let's add an action, go to System, go to Time, go to Set the Time Scale back to 1. Now let's try that out. Hit the button, time freezes. Now the only thing that's kind of weird about this is if you try inputting commands to your character, the animation still starts to play. You can't actually move, but it starts the animation, which is weird. We're going to fix that. What we want to do is disable all of the character groups when the menu is open. So we're going to go back to this section right here. We're going to add an action. We're going to go to System. We're going to go to Set Group Active. Now, if you remember what this does is you can name any group that you have in your event sheet. If I type in a quotation mark, a whole list comes up, and we can activate or deactivate it. We're going to deactivate all of the character group stuff. So starting with the attack, I'm going to make it so the attack is deactivated. Let's add another action, go to System. I'm going to set the group active for the dash to deactivated. I can do the same thing for the character movement, deactivated, and for character shoot, deactivated. So while the menu is open, you can't make your player do anything. None of the prompts, none of the inputs will have any effect. Now what we want to do is make sure that these are activated again once the menu is closed. So we're going to go through that same system, but change these to activated. Now, if you want to save yourself some time, you can copy and paste these. If I click on the first one here, hold down Shift on my keyboard, and click on the last one, I can select them all. If I right-click, I can go to Copy. If I right-click down here, I can go to Paste, and then I have them all pasted here. Now it's just a matter of double-clicking them and changing the state from deactivated to activated for each one. Let's try it out. Doesn't work, and now it does. Now the only thing that's kind of weird about this is that if you try to do some of your main character stuff, like if I try to shoot my arrow, now I can slide around as I'm shooting my projectile. If you dash, your speed is just always the dash speed. The reason why is because in our event sheet, we had made a lot of systems earlier, like if I go to character dash, that deactivates the character movement while this is true, right? Now I'm saying that all of these groups should always be activated the entire time that the menu is not open, which kind of breaks some of our earlier systems. To fix that, we're going to add a trigger once while true condition here. So if I double click over here on the left, and then go to System, I want to go to trigger once while true. What that means is that it only turns this stuff activated the second the menu is closed. So that way it's not telling Construct to always have the character attack group activated, because that'll mess up some of our earlier stuff. That'll only happen the second that the menu's closed. All right, that should do it. What we're going to do in our next video is actually start building what the menu looks like, and we'll make buttons that'll allow our player to upgrade their abilities. But we'll leave it there for today. Thanks for joining. Bye.